chickadees, welcome back. Today I want to chit chat about different areas in our chart where we can identify different opportunities to recharge ourselves, right? Rest, refocus, re-energize, all of that great stuff, but doing it through the lens of our moon and our Mars placements. Now we know that the moon is the point of our emotional well-being, right? Our moods, our emotions, but also too, it can be representative of the security blanket that we tend to hold for ourselves intrinsically and intuitively. And when we look at the Mars placement in our chart, I like to call Mars the get shit done planet, right? This is where we can tend to focus a lot of our energy throughout our life, right? Our overexertion of energy potentially as well too. And if we don't identify where we might be going a little bit too hard sometimes and find abilities to step back from that, then that's when we tend to see burnout. So it's important to look at Mars as well too. Now in its simplest form, right, we can look at the moon as a point of security by the specific house that it might fall in, right? So looking at the moon in the first house, this could place security, right, and emotional security with the self, right, and with the own personal identity. Moon in the second house relates definitely to material goods and finances, right? How do we place security on the physicality of the world? The moon in the third house places security on intellect, communication, socializing. The moon in the fourth house places security and finds a lot of safety and security through the home, right? And the home and the familial sort of relationships. The moon in the fifth house places security and finds a bunch of safety through creative expression, right? Romances, all of that great stuff. The moon in the sixth house places a lot of focus and emotional energy in the areas of work and service in their day-to-day routine, right? Do they have a structure? When we think about the moon in the seventh house, it definitely places a lot of emotional security, right? An emotional sort of focus on the partnerships and relationships that it has in its life. The moon in the eighth house is definitely a very powerful and very transformative moon, but it places a lot of security on the taboos of life, right? Finding a lot of comfort through the discomfort that might come to other people. The moon in the ninth house is a free spirit and loves to find security, right? And a lot of emotional sort of support through exploration, travel, philosophy, higher education. The moon in the 10th house finds security, safety, and stability through its social reputation and its career, right? Being able to be perceived by others. When we have the moon in the 11th house, it feels safe, secure, and wholesome when it is with its social groups, its society, its chosen family. And with the moon in the 12th house, I like to look at it as finding security, right, and emotional well-being through its own sense of spirituality, right? Similar kind of the first house where it's very individualistic how it finds security, but doing it more from a spiritual expression. Now, what do all of these mean as an ability to find rechargeable energy in our life, right? If we can find ourselves in our pitfalls, right? When we're having our moments of like, oh, woe is me, I'm going through a hard time, I'm struggling, we want to make sure that we look back to where our moon specifically falls in our chart and lean back in on that. Remember that, say hypothetically, you're someone who has the moon in the 11th house, like I said, it's like, okay, I'm going through this hard time, I'm struggling, I don't know what to do. Wait, moon in the 11th house. Now I remember, I can go rely to my friends, open up to them, have an emotional sense of vulnerability there, right? To remember that, oh, this emotional heaviness will pass, right? I don't have to let it weigh on me too much. That's how we can definitely, sorry, I just saw my cat walk through. Ham! Oh, we love Ham making a guest appearance again. But that's how we can use the moon, right, specifically to find an ability to recharge in our chart. We can also look at the elemental placement of the moon to give us a little bit more guidance on how we can find rechargeable opportunities in our life. So for example, if you're a fire moon, you're someone who's all about the passion, the vitality, right? The va-va-boom of life. You're someone who is always optimistic and looking on the bright side. So you're someone who's gonna wanna go out, party, socialize, be engaged, do something exciting and dynamic to make sure that you remind yourself, okay, yeah, it's not that bad, it's not that serious. If you're an air moon, because you're an intellectual and you're going to overthink, you're definitely gonna wanna find these intellectual outlets to let yourself, express these emotions, to not hold them in, right? Give yourself an opportunity to talk to people, journal, listen to music, go to an art gallery, anything like that that reminds you, oh yeah, I was just overthinking this, I'm being a little loco right now. And then we want to look at an earth moon, right? Earth moon's all about the sensuality, right? The senses, quite literally. How can you physically ground yourself again, right? If that's quite literally going out into nature, sitting in a park, touching grass, or maybe it could be the senses from cooking your favorite comfort meal. And then when we look at the water moon, right? The most sensitive, the most intuitive, the most emotionally connected of the moon signs, We want to make sure that we, water moons, right, we're not taking on too much burden when we might need to recharge ourselves, right? We love to be the rocks for other people, water moons, but sometimes we need other people to be our rocks, okay? So making sure that we find that connection there. Now, when we think about Mars as well too, right? Mars can show us where we have a little bit of overexertion in our life. So if we think about the zodiac wheel, right? Let's drop a little picture right here to give us an indication of what area of life each of the houses represent. We can better identify, okay, maybe I exert energy too much here. Mars in the first house, maybe I'm focusing too much on myself and not enough time on the external. Mars in the second house, maybe I'm focusing a little bit too much on attaining things, right? Being a little bit more successful and being a little bit more materialistic. Mars in the third house, am I always go, 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 right? Am I letting my mind be scatterbrained, right? Am I focused too much on learning rather than just literally existing? Mars in the fourth house, right? Am I addressing any sort of tensions, right? Or any sort of action that has happened in the household? Mars in the fifth house, right? Am I letting myself enjoy the creative rut for what it's worth, right? Or am I looking at it from this lens of, oh my God, no, I'm not being as creative as I normally am? Mars in the sixth house, am I able to dissociate and separate from the fact that I cannot be of service to everyone else at all points in time? Mars in the seventh house, right? Really, really focusing on that forward momentum towards partnerships and relationships. Am I giving myself time to isolate, right? Because even though we can love and we love to be around people, I'm a Gemini, come on, I love people. Sometimes you need to step back and be like, okay, I just need to, look at this from 2020 vision, whatever the saying is. Mars in the eighth house, am I being consistent enough, right? Am I too rapidly changing, transforming too much, right? Am I focusing a little bit too much on the taboos of life, right? And not enjoying the surface level things that are there? Mars in the ninth house, am I constantly stimulating my brain? Am I constantly traveling? Am I someone who, again, doesn't have this sense of grounded security, right? Am I focusing too much energy there? Mars in the 10th house as well, right? Am I overly working myself? Am I giving myself enough time to break and relax? Also, too, am I caring too much about what other people think? Mars in the 11th house, it's very similar to all of these other socialized planets, right? Or socialized placements. Am I focusing too much on the social group, right? As opposed to the individual self? And then Mars in the 12th house as well. Am I allowing myself opportunities to express and be open, right? And put a little bit more focus and effort on stepping outside of my own mind and my own spirit to just, again, enjoy life at surface level. The tricky thing with Mars in my experience, right, and all the times I read people's charts and I tell them this analysis, they're like, oh my God, yeah, I really do focus so much of my energy in that area of my life, is you got to make sure that you give yourself opportunities to revert it, right? I'm someone who's got Mars in the first house. I always need to constantly check my ego and check myself where it's like, are you really only focusing on you and the benefit for you, right? Let's go do something for someone else. Thank you very much, Cole, okay? It's all about making sure that you put a little bit of a twist on it, right? To remember that you're not overexerting yourself in one area of life and that you find that balance, because it can be really restorative and really recharging. With all of that being said, chickadees, let's do a quick recap, right? Because I threw a lot of information at y'all. Looking at the houses, right? The specific houses that each of the potential placements might fall in will show us where that energy is activated in our life. So for the moon, that is where we find security in that area of our life. For Mars, that is where we might overexert little areas of energy, right? That's where we might need to step back sometimes. And when we're looking at the element, that is, again, with the moon placement, how we can find a little bit more activation in the type of restorative energy that we might need and the type of energy that is, again, going to make us feel safe and stabilized. So with all of that being said, I'm sending all of you so much love, and you can get through this too, right? July is all about recharging, re-energizing, giving ourselves that moment to just breathe and enjoy life for what it is. Sending you so much love, chickadees.